Hey there, this is Nick. Today we're talking about cost codes, and I want to demystify this essential aspect of job costing for your construction projects. It's not that hard. We can do it in QuickBooks, and we have to be doing it in QuickBooks. We're going to dive in with a hard-hitting lesson. Check this out as we go through this. Now, I do have an amazing course available, Builder Books Academy, that goes into this in so much more detail for you who are builders, remodelers, maybe bookkeepers for that industry. Definitely check that out as well. But I want to get into cost codes today because there's just a lot of mixed messaging about what this actually is and how to do it. And the first thing I want to talk about, we absolutely cannot use chart of accounts. So we're in QuickBooks, we want to establish our cost codes, we want to establish how much are we spending on various different categories of construction. The first thing that a lot of us are going to do is go to the chart of accounts. We absolutely don't want to do that. I'm going to demonstrate why that is a bad idea. I want to make sure that that's the first thing we know from this lesson here. The second thing is, what do we actually use? We use products and services. So if you're on QuickBooks Online, products and services is going to be your cost code. Okay, no debate about it. That's exactly what you should use. If you're on QuickBooks Desktop, it's going to be called items. Works the exact same way. I'm going to show you exactly how that works. But let's talk about a few best practices when establishing your cost codes, because you need to come up with your list for your business or for your client's business that is serving you, right? Is actually giving you what you need. There's a few things we want to think about when we think about creating cost codes. So first is align cost codes with your project phases. This is a big one. It's really easy for us to, brainstorm a list of things and cost codes and budgets, and we can say drywall, we can say flooring, we can say paint, and we just spit them out, and we can maybe have the system categorize them how they want to, maybe alphabetically. But we want to really think about organizing our cost code by project phases. That's going to help us a lot on the reporting side of things. Second, keep it simple and keep it scalable. If you're like me, your business is going to shift and change over time, right? I started doing mostly kitchen remodels, bath remodels. We grew into large additions, large full home interiors, and now we build custom homes, right? So having a system that can grow and scale as you do is really important as well. I'm going to show you some strategies for that. And lastly, standardize across all projects. This is so important, right? So when we're thinking about establishing this list of cost codes, we don't want to say, well, here's my list for kitchen remodels, here's my list for bathroom remodels. That makes it pretty much impossible to look at project profitability across multiple projects at one time. We want to be able to have that ability. It's really important for us as business owners and for you as a bookkeeper. So with that, let's go into QuickBooks and a few other tools here. I'm going to show you what we're talking about. The first thing I want to talk about is the wrong way to do it. We don't want to use the chart of accounts. This is so important. So here I am in this set of books here, chart of accounts, and what we see way too often is we list out our cost codes as chart of accounts. Now this list of cost codes on its own, maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. We're not going to get into it with this one necessarily. Okay, this is a list of cost codes here, and this user has set up all of these as individual accounts within the chart of accounts. And intuitively, that might make a little bit of sense because now we can easily categorize all of our transactions. But we can do that with something else, which is products and services, right? So instead of categorizing to our chart of accounts here, which is going to give us some really crazy reporting. Let me go ahead and show you a profit and loss if we were to do it kind of the wrong way. We're going to get this profit and loss with a gigantic list of cost codes. Now this sample isn't even fully built out yet, so there's not even that many here, but we don't want our profit and loss to have all this detail. We want our profit and loss to give us a pretty quick hitting, how much did we spend on the project, maybe broken down into a couple categories, labor, materials, subcontractors, but not to this level. This is way too much detail, right? We want it to look a little bit more something like this. Okay, so this is going to give us, here's our cost of goods sold, just two little categories here, materials and subcontractors. And here's the beauty. I can drill down into this total, and I can draw up a report really easily where instead of me viewing it by, account, I can go ahead and group it by product and service, okay? Which is going to be way better, right? Okay, so there's our products and services. Nice and neat. And I can sort by products and service, which, yeah. Okay, so that's how we want to be thinking about it. So let's talk about what makes up a good list. So what I have here is a export or import that you can download as well. So if you're interested in this, you can grab it from my website for free, a list of products and services that you can play with and add to QuickBooks. And I would encourage you to take this as a starting point. Don't look at my list and say, oh, perfect, Nick's using this, so it's perfect for my business. We're all a little bit different, And you can see even within the sheet, I got a bunch of different examples here. And so it depends on exactly what you're doing. So here's what I call I use the word complex. Now, it's not super complex, but this is a list of products and services that might be a good place to start if you are doing large remodels or custom homes. So this has a lot of codes in there, and you can see we have about over 200. Now, it doesn't have to be, though, okay? That's important. It does not have to be. It could be a little bit simpler. We're going to talk about that in a second. But let's talk about structuring this by phase. So what I would encourage you to do is to create categories and potentially subcategories for your products and services. And I'm going to show you that over on this one right here. Okay, so for the most part, I am numbered. I think it's also important that you're numbering. You can tell I have some that are unnumbered up here. These are mostly like residential. These are mostly like income items. Okay, but we can see that we have a numbering system of some sort here. Okay, so all the 1000s, for example, okay, are all going to fall under preparations and preliminaries. That's my category. And then within that, I've got my 1100s. Okay, and then I got my 1200s, my 1300s, my 1400s. So creating a category and a subcategory is going to really help us. You're going to see that as I demonstrate this in Buildertrend and QuickBooks in just a minute. All right, so a category and a subcategory makes a lot of sense. And what we can do when we make our numbers 4 digits instead of just like 1 building permits is we're leaving room for growth. And that's the second thing we're going to discuss here in a second, is leaving room to add more if we need to. But you can see here that I'm adding all my cost codes, my subcategories, my categories. And what I would encourage you to do as you're setting this up, use a spreadsheet. Don't go right to QuickBooks. Don't go right to Buildertrend and start building them out. It's way easier to play around in here, to add one, to delete one, to change the name. And what I really love about using a spreadsheet, and Google Sheets, Excel, doesn't really matter, is you can grab your entire list here as I'm doing, and I can insert a little pivot table. And this pivot table is really just for me to like visualize what this is going to look like. I can kind of preview what it's going to look like in Buildertrend or QuickBooks. And I can just go into the rows here and I can do category, then subcategory, and then cost code. And I can just expand my columns here. I'm not even going to bring any values. That's not the point of this. And I can see how this is going to kind of look from like a hierarchy standpoint, right? So here's my category is 1000 preliminaries, and then here's all my subcategories within that. And I can kind of just take one at a time and play around with them to see what makes sense. Now, one thing you're going to notice that I do in my cost codes is that I clearly differentiate when I have, say, subcontractor versus labor. All right, we have some internal labor in my team here, so the labor is going to help me indicate which ones show up on the time clock, and the subcontract help me show up which ones are going to be impacted by subcontractors, right? So materials, labor, and subcontract. I would love for us to have a field that indicates that instead of us building it into the name, but not really existing yet in QuickBooks or Buildertrend, so we're going to build it right into the name here. Okay, so that's an example and why we can see the importance of setting it up such that we're moving sequentially through the project. So generally speaking, we're going to do the 1000s before the 2000s, before the 3000s. We're kind of working our way through the project. Now, of course, right, exterior might be able to happen at different stages, but we're just talking generally. And what general hierarchy is the project actually taking place, right? So that's first. Second thing we want to think about is the ability to grow and scale. So you might look at something like this and say, whoa, way too many cost codes. My business is not that big. I don't do that big of projects yet. I don't need that many. And that's fine. I don't want you to put in cost codes that you're not going to use, but I would want you to create it such that the numbering allows you to add, right? So if right now you're not doing all of this utility stuff, maybe you just have a general 1400, 1410 general utility, and this is all here for you if and when you need to add those in. That's all ready for you, okay? Same thing with framing. Maybe your framing doesn't need to currently be separated into these categories, but you want to have it be able to in the future. So enabling this system for growth is really, really important, growth and scalability. All right, and the last thing is we want it consistent across all projects. Now, this should happen by default. What I don't want you to do is within QuickBooks, let me go to QuickBooks for a second. Let's talk about where the items live. Okay, items, product or services show up right here. Here's my list of products and services. Okay, and what I don't want you to do is to say, lot clearing, new builds, and then have a lot clearing for flips or rough plumbing, kitchens, rough plumbing, bathrooms. Absolutely not. Keep it so that it's consistent. Now, you're not going to use every single cost code on every single project. That's fine. But make sure they're generic enough such that when you have a project, you need to call upon a cost code, you're able to bring each and every one in. We want them to be consistent across projects. And then what can we do with this? That's really the important part. Like, how does this actually work now that we've got our cost codes in there as products and services? Well, it's really simple. When we have expenses come through our bank feed or when we create expenses ourselves, we've got this items detail down here where instead of going here to a category and saying, construction materials or something like that, instead of doing construction materials here, instead I have the ability to do my cost code. So here I can say I have my framing, floor framing material that I'm spending money on. Now the system, when we add these cost codes, we add these products and services, we tell the system to map this. When I indicate that I'm using product or service, I'm saying I spend, let's say, $5,000, the system is going to map this to my construction materials account within the chart of accounts, and then I'm giving my system both forms, right? I'm getting like the simple version on the P&L, and then I can drill down for all the bonus info. Looking at that on a sheet like this, this is just a transaction report coming from a project report, okay, where I can see how much I spent. So this project totally $75,000 so far. And because we're categorizing and we're creating that category and subcategory, I have a really nice hierarchy to see how much I'm spending on these various different categories, right? Super useful, really, really beneficial from a reporting standpoint. That's why the numbering system makes a lot of sense. And then this is going to mirror into either third-party project management software or, if you don't have that yet, Builder, Trend, Co-Construct, etc., your external reporting. You're going to probably pull this information into some other external report beyond QuickBooks for budgeting, right? QuickBooks does not do a great job of budgeting by project, at least not in QuickBooks Online Plus and below. So you probably are using something like Builder, Trend, or Co-Construct, or Excel to do a little bit more. Okay, so looking at something like Builder Trend, again, we're mirroring this over. We're showing the same exact cost categories, the same exact cost code. So if I drill down into this one right here, this is a cost code of building permit, and that lands within my permits and admin. Going over to my budget, it's all the same, right? All the exact same hierarchy, the exact same list exists within QuickBooks as exists within Builder Trend, and we're really, really consistent. That's so important. For one, we need to sync the two together, and for two, we want to be able to compare projects over time and be able to draw some analysis as far as how we're doing on certain budgets and how much we're spending on various cost categories, okay? So cost codes does not need to be a difficult thing. We just need to really take our time, and as we're building up the business, as we're building up this functionality within our business, be really thoughtful and diligent about how we set it up so that we can serve our business. We want these to follow the phases of our projects, okay? We want to be able to grow and scale them, meaning we're leaving room to add, and we certainly want them to be one standard list across our projects so that we can do some analysis there as well, all right? So I'd like to know your feedback. What is still bothering you about cost codes? What can't you figure out? What can I help you with? And we can certainly put another video together for that. And I want you to check out Builder Books Academy because we go into cost codes. It's a fundamental aspect of setting up your books to really be able to track everything in QuickBooks Online. Check that out. We've had a lot of great feedback on that course. And I'm looking forward to serving you on the next video here. You tell me what that should be, and I'll see you on the next video.